Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another day of Bookmas. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about 23 books that I loved in 2023. This video is 100% inspired by Sarah Caroli. I absolutely loved seeing her videos, so I thought that I'd do it myself. So let's just get straight into it. This will be in no particular order. I'm going to go through all the physical books that I own and then some books that I've read on my Kindle that I loved as well. So the first book we have is Powerless by Lauren Roberts, which is a first book that's going to be part of a series, and it's also her debut novel. So going into this, I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did, but the character development and the world building in this and just everything was amazing. It's probably my favorite book of 2023, and if you still haven't read this, please go and do it. I promise you it is so worth it. I haven't seen one negative review about this book. And the second book, Reckless, comes out next year as well, which is going to be one of my most prioritized reads. The next one we have is Flawless by Elsie Silver, which is the first book in the Chestnut Spring series. This is the only book I've read in that series so far, but I just absolutely loved this. I adored the relationship in this book and the little enemies to lovers part of it. The small town vibes in this are just immaculate. It follows a bull rider and a girl that is like babysitting him because he's always getting into trouble, and it is as good as it sounds. I just ate this book up. I finished it so quickly as well. The next book we have is kind of a random one. I don't see many people talking about this book, to be honest, and that is One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. The cover kind of puts me off this book a little bit because I don't really like these new Taylor Jenkins Reid covers, but the book was actually amazing. It follows a girl who married her high school sweetheart, and a year after they get married, he goes on this helicopter trip and the helicopter never comes back. It goes missing, and years later she's starting to fall in love with someone else, and then her husband decides to come back, and you're following a love triangle in this book. I just love the way this book ended because she did end up with the person that I wanted her to be with. I remember crying at the end as well, but I can't exactly remember why. Next up we have The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. So if you have read Verity by Colleen Hoover, this is very similar, and I just ate this book up. This is like the book that got me into reading thrillers, and since I read this, I have not been able to stop reading Frida McFadden's books. I think I've read like every single one of her psychological thrillers now, and I've like loved every single one of them, but this is like the one that got me into them, so I feel like it's a very honorable mention, and the plot twist did definitely get me at the end of this book as well. The next book we have is also from Frida McFadden, and that was Never Lie. This is 100% my favorite Frida McFadden book to date. I just love this book so much. It literally kept me on the edge of my seat the whole time. I was not expecting anything that happened in this book, and the whole setting of the book, it's about a couple who go to view this house that they want to buy, and at the same time as them going to view this house, they get trapped in a snowstorm, so they end up having to stay in this house overnight, and all of this really creepy stuff starts happening. Literally one of the best thrillers that I've ever read, purely because of the setting of the book and the fact that I didn't expect anything that happened in it. The next one we have is Heir of Broken Fate by Mads Rafferty. I picked this one up because I saw her promoting her book on TikTok, and I absolutely loved this. Again, we have another debut author. The second book in this series is actually coming out next year, and I'm just as excited about that one. And look at the cover of this book. It is absolutely stunning. Like, I'm obsessed with it. The next two books go together because they're part of a series, but I just had to include both books in this video, and that is Whisper and Weapon by Lynette Noni. So this is a duology. I don't want to tell you too much about these books because I feel like if you go into it blind, you would enjoy them so much more, because I definitely went into these blind having no idea what they were actually about. So pretty much it follows this girl. They refer to her as Jane Doe because they don't know her name, and she has been underground at Lengard for over 2 years now, and she doesn't know why she's down there, and she also doesn't speak to anyone, but there's a reason for why she doesn't speak, and the story goes on from there. Now, I am obsessed with both of these. I finished Weapon yesterday, and let me tell you, the ending of the series like left me gobsmacked. I was not expecting anything that happened in these books either, and I think they're such a good series to go into, and they both single-handedly pulled me out of a book slump that I was in as I read both of these, because now I'm out of my like 6-week book slump, I think, after reading this one. The next one we have is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. This book just gives off the best magical fairy tale vibes ever. I cannot explain to you the feeling that I felt reading this book for the first time. The second book was just as amazing. I haven't actually read the third book yet. I feel like I'm like on repeat. I've said that so many times, but I am gonna finish the Caraval series, reread this one, reread The Ballad of Never After, and then go into the new one. But this book is just absolutely amazing. It follows Evangeline Fox, and she makes a deal with the Prince of Hearts, and in return she owes him 3 kisses. And that sounds really boring, but when you actually go into the story and you see everything that happens, you will be amazed. And I would do like anything to reread this book for the first time. The next one we have is Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh, which is also part of a series. So it's the first book in the Boys of Tolman series. I loved Binding and Keeping 13. I haven't actually continued the series yet, but I don't want to fill up this video with books in the same series because that would be a little bit boring. I've said this so many times and I will continue saying it. Johnny and Shannon are my favorite book couple ever. I don't know if anyone will ever top them because you can feel the love that they have for each other through the pages. Everything they went through together was so heartbreaking but beautiful at the same time, the way they support each other. And this is a rugby romance, but it's so much more than that. Like, you don't really understand how much depth is in this book until you actually go into it, but make sure you search trigger warnings for this book. Next one we have is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. People think that I'm crazy when I say that I absolutely adored this book and loved it with everything. I think that if you can mentally cope with the triggers in this book, again, look up trigger warnings, you should definitely read it because the writing in this is so beautiful and poetic. And like, I truly believe that there is so many like hidden messages within this book that everyone needs to know. Like, just so many important life lessons in this book. And as someone that's gone through like mental health issues in the past myself, I just feel like I really connected to some of the characters in this book as well, which just made it even more heartbreaking for me. Like, I did sob at the end of this book, but at the same time as that, you just have to like accept the sad parts and know that it's not necessarily going to be a happy ending, but the stories and like messages that you learn along the way are the most important part of this book. Next one we have is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. People have said that this is very similar to the TV show Criminal Minds, which I haven't actually watched, but it follows a group of teenagers and they all have these like special powers that can help out the FBI, and they've all kind of been like recruited by the FBI to help with unsolved crimes from the past. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think each book in this series follows like a little mystery, but then there's like one whole big mystery throughout the whole series that you'll find out at the end, if that makes any sense. And I've only read the first book in this series so far, but absolutely loved it. I feel like I finished it in a couple of days because it was so fast paced and just easy to read. And because it's YA, the language is just really easy to read and you don't have to use much brain power to get through this book. The next book we have is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Now, I must preface this by saying I've read Iron Flame. I did not like Iron Flame at all, but I'm still going to stand by the fact that I really loved this book. I'm sure you have all heard about Fourth Wing by now, so I'm not going to explain what it's about because I think you all know. But I just think the setting in this book and the characters and the character development were all so amazing, and it's seriously just set up to be such a good book series. I'm hoping that book 3 in the series is actually good because book 2 felt a little bit dragged on. Still absolutely loved this. Cannot wait to get the hardcovers with the cool sprayed edges as well. I'm like waiting for them to come to Australia. The next one we have is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. Now, this is the annotated special edition. I do have the paperback as well. I am going to do a reread of this book so I can reread the one with the annotations in it because this is absolutely stunning. Archer and Bree are one of my favorite book couples as well. I think their relationship is so beautiful. Like, the things they go through together are just so heartbreaking, but again, you can feel the love that they have for each other in the pages, which is something that I love in a book. So obviously it follows Bree and Archer. Bree moves to this town where she meets Archer and he doesn't speak to her, but she soon realizes that he doesn't actually speak to anyone in the town, and that's something that we find out why later in the book. And she has a relationship with him through sign language, which I think is just so special and beautiful. And honestly, I think everyone needs to go and read this. The next book we have is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I absolutely loved this. I think anything that Lynn Painter writes, I will absolutely love. I'm going to talk about another book next from her as well. This follows Liz and Wes, and the whole like movie dynamic of this book I just absolutely love. Like, they both love watching like chick flicks and, you know, those like iconic 2000s movies, and I think that was such an important aspect of this book. And their relationship was just so cute and wholesome. I think this is also a YA, so it was very easy to get through. Also by Lynn Painter, which I absolutely loved, we have The Love Wager. The premise of this book is kind of really hard to explain, but pretty much it follows a man and a woman who are both on dating apps, and they decide to go on a date together, but they soon realize that they're just not meant to be. So instead of going on dates with each other, they act as like a wing person for each other, and they watch each other as they're going on dates with other people. And none of these dates are going well with other people, and they soon realize that they just have to be with each other. And it's literally like under 300 pages, so quick and easy to read. So the next one is part of a series as well. Now, I did read the whole series this year, but this is my favorite one out of the series, so I thought that this would be the one that I mentioned, and that was the Magnolia Parks universe, specifically Magnolia Parks: A Long Way Home. When I tell you guys that this book made me feel every single emotion possible, it literally gave me whiplash because of everything that happened in this book, and it was so heartbreaking heartbreaking but beautiful, and the relationship that starts developing in this book between Magnolia and someone else, I love their relationship with everything. I'm a BJ hater. I know people either love or hate BJ. I absolutely hate him. I don't think there's any way that he's going to get better in this series. I can't see him having any character development at all. But the relationship that Magnolia has with someone else in this book, I adored. I think it was just absolutely amazing. But the ending of this book broke my heart. Like, I was not expecting the ending of this book whatsoever. And then the 4th book in the series follows the exact same storyline, so you don't even find out anything else about what's going to happen next, which just stressed me out even more. So I cannot wait until the next Magnolia Parks book comes out. I think it comes out early February, and I'm so excited to get to it. The next one we have is also part of a series, and I picked my favorite one from the series that I've read so far, and that was the Addicted / Calloway Sisters series. So my favorite so far has been Addicted for Now. The series is by Krista and Becca Ritchie. So the first 3 books in this series follow Lily and Lo. Lily has a sex addiction and Lo has an alcohol addiction, and you're following them dealing with that throughout these 3 books. But in this one in particular, I think they had so much character development, and I just loved the way that the story kind of went in this book. And I just cannot wait to finish and like continue this series in 2024. The next one we have is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. Are we even surprised that I'm including this in the video? This book was just absolutely stunning. I can't fault anything about this book. I think the story and the relationship is so beautiful between these 2 main characters. This is a romantasy, so it follows them writing magical letters to each other through these magical typewriters that they both have, and they are actually academic rivals. So Iris doesn't know that she's literally writing to someone that she despises, but he does know that it's her writing the letters. And honestly, like, the actual synopsis of this story does not do it justice how amazing this book really is. And the second book's coming out the end of December / the start of January in Australia, but I'll probably get it on my Kindle, and I'm so beyond excited to read the second book in this series. The next book I have is The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. I went into this expecting just a really cutesy little romance. I wasn't expecting to actually love this as much as I did. It follows a family, and every year they do a massive game of assassin. The summer vibes within this book are just so immaculate. I kind of wish that I saved this to read in summer, because I read it like peak winter, so I kind of read it at a really awkward time of the year, but it still gave me really like summery vibes and just got me in the mood and feels for summer. And there's actually a second book that comes after this called What Happens After Midnight, and I'm not sure if that one has summery vibes, but I'm also very excited to go into that one in 2024 because I think it's going to be amazing. The next one we have is The 7 Year Slip by Ashley Poston. Again, was not expecting to love this one as much as I did, because at the beginning it took me a little while to get through, but once I got past like that awkward first stage of the book, I just ate it up. I finished it so quickly. It was so fast paced, and it's actually a time travel romance, which I didn't know going into, and I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did. We have Wildfire by Hannah Grace. Again, I wasn't expecting to love this one as much as I did. I loved Icebreaker, which I also read this year. It follows Russ and Aurora, who have a one-night stand at a college party, and then they both go off to work at the same summer camp where there is a no fraternization policy. So there's like a little bit of a forbidden romance in this book, and the summer vibes, again, were just perfect. Like, the whole setting of this book was just amazing. Like, that was my favorite part about it. The last book I'm going to talk about is so basic, but we have Beach Read by Emily Henry. I actually started this book last year and DNF'd it halfway through, and I decided to listen to it as an audiobook this year, and now I understand the hype around this book. I think this relationship is so beautiful, and the depth that is with the characters in this book. Like, it's not just a cute little romance. The characters have so much baggage, and that was one of the things that I loved most about it, because we had to unpack so much in this book. But yeah, that was the 23 books that I absolutely loved in 2023. Honestly, it's really hard to narrow it down to 23 books, especially when a lot of them were part of series where I loved every single book in the series. Hopefully this helps you guys out. If you haven't read any of these books, you should definitely go and do it, because obviously they made my top 23 books, and I think I'm getting close to reading 100 books this year. Obviously I've still got a couple of weeks to go of the year, but with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.